What's up, guys? It's Crash, and as a longtime Battlefield 5 truther, that is to say, I've always liked Battlefield 5, even when a lot of people were hating on it when it was the most recent Battlefield. I've always enjoyed it from mainly a mechanical standpoint, but a lot of other reasons that I'm going to get to in this video. And why I'm making this video is that there are a lot of people playing Battlefield 5, and it's really cool. Something happened very similar to what has just happened with Battlefield 2042, where it was on kind of a mega sale. There was also one with Battlefield 5 where it was incredibly cheap for PC, both on Steam and on the EA store. So these numbers can be even bigger, but it has been breaking 100,000 players almost daily over on Steam charts. So that's just Steam. That's not talking about console, and that's not talking about the EA Player, the EA Launcher app, the hot piece of garbage that is the EA video game launcher. There's still more people playing on it, myself unfortunately included. I want to talk to you guys today about why I think this is really cool and why this game deserves to have this many players in it. Now, I will have to start out saying it definitely was not perfect. And what I mean by that is there were a lot of problems. I remember the debacle with the Al Sundan map taking forever to come out. This was the first time we kind of got the live service trickle fed type maps that just not very much post-launch content, especially coming off of a stellar post-launch game like Battlefield 1 was. This was a big step down in post-launch content. There were a couple times where they definitely broke the time to kill incredibly bad, like laughably bad. And those were some dark times any way you slice it with Battlefield 5. But there are some mechanics and some things about this game that, in my opinion, you guys can roast me in the comments, and I look forward to reading them, that make this probably my favorite Battlefield game, at least for sure from a mechanical standpoint. I want to talk about why that is and why it's cool to see this many players within the game. You can even get, if you're on PC, which is crazy, you can even get into a Firestorm lobby. And let's just start there. Firestorm is really cool. There are a few things that are rough with it. The UI is a little bit rough. The looting is kind of painful. The looting is a little bit painful when you kill somebody. Trying to go through all their loot, the inventory is a little bit wonky, but you can get through it. That is to say, though, it is a battle royale that has destruction. It has the Battlefield 5 destruction on a massive, beautiful map. There's also some vehicle mechanics in there. There's also some mechanics where you capture a point, kind of like Conquest, and it looks awesome. And that's all coupled with what I really like about Battlefield 5 is, that is to say, it's my favorite movement of any kind of arcade style shooter. It's the top, it's the pinnacle for me. I really like the sprint speed. It feels smooth. It's not as, I feel like it's like a grounded Titanfall almost in smoothness. It's not as crazy fast. Like with Titanfall, when you start b-hopping and chaining movements together, you can absolutely fly. But I just feel like in Battlefield, the character does what I want them to do, and it feels smooth doing that because there is manual leaning where I can put keybinds on lean like a lot of other shooters. I can also crouch sprint. Many of these things, for some reason, they took out when it comes to Battlefield 2042. I really like the sliding mechanics. You can slide pretty far, but it's not spammable, excuse me. There is a cooldown on it. You can reload and slide at the same time to get back into cover after a gunfight. I kind of like the healing system when it comes to those routine gunfights. You kind of have a freebie where you can hit a key and re-heal really quick. That can only happen once, and then you're gonna have to rely on a teammate or a resupply station to get your health back. I like having that one kind of mulligan or that freebie to get back in the fight right away. And back with the movement, like the crouch sprinting is awesome, as well as to dive even more into the lean. It's not spammable like it is in Rainbow Six Siege. If you play Siege, I've heard people call it like a wiggle simulator. It's not quite that bad. There's a cooldown on it, and the more you try to spam it, the less there is. So I say all of these movements that they have can be pretty fast, but they come with a purpose, and they come with a little bit of a penalty. You have to think about when you want to use your slide, when you want to use your lean, and all that stuff is really nice. And I'm a little bit saddened. I'm a lot bit saddened that they took a lot of that out of Battlefield 2042. Guys, there's also a server browser. I know you can go ahead and find the lowest ping. You can see how many legit not bot players are in there. This game has destruction. The fortifications were actually pretty cool. I remember playing the beta the first time, and I thought it was going to be like Fortnite. I was like, oh cool, we're playing build in Fortnite. Like, this is ridiculous, but it actually is pretty cool as an infantry player to be able to do some of that stuff. And I think the vehicles are balanced fairly well. I know some of the vehicle players are probably going to roast me there, but I've enjoyed playing as the assault class and taking out tanks and taking out planes. I'm a filthy Fliegerfauster. I think that's a lot of fun. That's made some really cool clips and makes pilots mad. I do also really think that Battlefield 5 is the pinnacle of the Frostbite engine. I think the graphic fidelity coupled with the optimization is an incredible mix. Like, it's perfect. It runs really well on a lot of machines, and the graphics to the game are absolutely stunning. And I'm honestly not sure how there was such a big regression when it comes to the graphical fidelity and performance of Battlefield 2042. Maybe it's the higher player count numbers or the rushed maps that weren't quite finished, but it does not look as good and it does not run as good. I wish the next game would just be Battlefield 5's Frostbite engine. They didn't need to go farther than that. In my opinion, you start to see diminishing returns. I don't understand. It seems to me lately, games almost look not as good, and they also don't run as good. You think it'd be kind of a give and take, where if a game didn't have as much graphical fidelity, you'd get quite a bit more frames, but I've been kind of seeing the opposite of that lately. But I do have to say that I feel like Battlefield 5 is like the pinnacle and the best version of Frostbite that we saw, and it ran really well even within a battle royale setting on a super large map. And I know there's a lot of people who will say Battlefield 1 takes that prize, and I definitely get what you're saying, but I think if we take a step back, if we take the rose-colored glasses off just a little bit and the love that we all have for Battlefield 1, I think Battlefield 5 still beats it in graphics, and I think it hangs in there when it comes to optimization. But I will hand it to Battlefield 1. The immersion, the atmosphere is unparalleled in pretty much any shooter, in my opinion. So you can go into that server browser that I was talking about and get into a match and pick an actual class. Now, it's not specialist split into classes, it's an actual class, and it's really nice to be able to play within your role, and you can see what everybody else is doing, and it has all those mechanics that we wish that Battlefield 2042 would have had at launch. So you get all that stuff. You get the multiplayer, you get Firestorm, which is a really slept on battle royale that I think could have succeeded had it not been behind a premium $59.99 paywall and also released right next to Apex Legends. It would have been really cool to see what Firestorm could have been morphed into. I know there was some lore behind it and had some stuff planned for it, but it also got the hazard zone treatment. Just one of the many things that DICE abandoned when it didn't go well at first. It's really unfortunate, but you get all that stuff along with some war stories. Now, this had kind of a version of the campaign with some short war stories that you could play through, these kind of short little campaign missions, but it had that as well. So you have all three aspects of a traditional first-person shooter game for like $5 is what it's been. So it's actually been a crazy deal. If you haven't picked it up, if it's still on sale, I highly recommend you do that because it's really cool to see it. Now, why I think this is interesting is it's you know, we have this happens a lot. We have Titanfall 2 will have these where it comes back and has crazy player numbers and it goes off. Certain games have done that. We've seen BattleBit Remastered take off and come back down, and 2042 has done somewhat of the same thing when it was on sale. It's going to be interesting to me to see how Battlefield 5 holds its players. If those mechanics, if we can see any kind of player sent message that, hey, this is kind of the Battlefield that we want to see, it will be cool to see and kind of compare how it holds those players. And if it does, there's a couple things I think that can really hinder that. The main one, we just got to talk about it, are the hackers. Battlefield 5 on PC essentially has no anti-cheat, and that's been one of the reasons, especially for me, that it's been dead to me. Up until this major influx of players, I haven't even been able to find a server without just an absolute insane rage hacker. That's people flying around the map with speed hacks, invisible people, so it's just a gun floating around shooting you, people just doing death sprinklers and rage hacking and taking out the entire lobbies, and nothing's done about it. There is no policing or patrolling of hackers in Battlefield 5, and it's been so frustrating for me. And the reason I haven't played it in several months, it used to always be my Battlefield that I would go back to on the Twitch stream and stuff and to play and hang out with people. It's like I said, I really enjoy putting time into Battlefield 5. I think it feels like Battlefield. It runs and looks great. So I'm really concerned that hackers are going to take a toll on this and drop the player numbers, because I would love to see what a Battlefield, I just would love to see, like many of you, a modern reskin of a game just like this. Like, if you took this game, made a few balancing fixes here or there, put a modern skin on it with like a Battlefield 3 feel to it, what are we doing? Like, that is the Battlefield formula. That's all you need, DICE. You can send the royalty checks my way. Send me a DM. There is one way you guys can fight back against hackers just a little bit. There is a website called bfvhackers.com. You can go there and you can actually click up on the top at server and put in your server information, and it will actually scan the stats of the players and show you potential cheaters within your servers, and it's pretty spot on. So that's a really cool website that they put together to where you can kind of use that to try to find one. But up until recently, like I said, I haven't been able to find them, and I think maybe the hackers are probably going to see that a lot of players are coming back to this and probably get back to their shenanigans again, and could ruin it for a lot of legit players. And it's such a shame. It happens in a lot of games, but for a game that came out in 2018 from a AAA publisher and a AAA studio to not have any kind of base anti-cheat at all, it's actually kind of crazy. And to take it even a step further, they won't do anything about it. I've repeated blatant hackers before when there were only a few US servers running, and I would see those same players doing the same thing the next week or the next day or perpetually. There's always some of the same cheaters. I would even start EA support tickets and send them the information. I would talk to somebody. I would send a manual support ticket with footage. I would make a YouTube like footage and send the link to EA support, and they wouldn't do anything about the hackers. So it's a really sad state of affairs, but it's going to be interesting to see if the game itself can hold these players longer than we originally thought, or than some of the large, you know, spikes and dips happen with these player numbers. I'm really excited to see Battlefield 5 being healthy. I'm going to be able to get some games in. I checked it earlier. I was actually able to get into a almost full Firestorm lobby, which is really cool and definitely a blast from the past. If you guys have been a little bit tired of Battlefield 2042 or the new Call of Duty or something like that, give Battlefield 5 a try. You can go in, you can go to a server browser, guys. Say it again. You go to a server browser and pick the location, the amount of players, the map, the mode, and everything that you want to play with. You can join that specific server and you can have a really good time. I will say there is no team balancing within it like Battlefield 1 had, so sometimes you can get some really lopsided matches in Battlefield 5, which is one of the things that would definitely need to be fixed. But there is a server browser, which is a huge step forward. So a lot of these things, and you guys tell me down in the comments below, if you go back and play this, if it doesn't give you the Battlefield feeling that we know from 3, 4, and 1. I think it's going to give that to you. So give it a try. If you haven't seen it, the player numbers are up. It's worth checking out. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know if you played it, if you like it, or if I'm actually completely full of crap down in the comments below. I read them all. I thank you so much for taking the time to leave them and for taking the time to watch this video. Have a good one, and we'll see you later on.